It was a cold day at NAMPO Cape 2023, but with hot topics for discussion during the Nation in a Conversation panel discussion held on the sideline of the show. In this segment, we first talk to some panelists. Isak Starts from Beer and Jordan Hill-Lewis, Mayor, City of Cape Town.
John, you just mentioned in Nation Conversation from a Nedbank's perspective, you mentioned that the lending towards agriculture has increased significantly. From your perspective, what do you foresee for the agricultural sector? And also, can you give us some figures regarding the lending from a Nedbank from your perspective as well?
We've seen severe expansion in the amount of lending. So it went from about 150 billion 2 or 3 years ago to around, I think, 236 billion currently. So that's quite a big increase over 3 or 4 years. You would argue that that is aligned to the growth in the sector. So we've seen in those early COVID years really steep growth in terms of agriculture, which has tailed off a bit now. So I do expect that lending to slow down a bit, because in the last year or so we've seen some risk coming through. So I did speak about supply chains as well, and I mentioned the severe increase in the cost of freight. So there is a bit of extra risk in the sector, and of course the banks will look at that risk as well. So you do have spells where the investment from banks or the lending from banks goes up and down. But the point I am making is that from the commercial banks, and we must also bear in mind that to some degree that was at the expense of Land Bank. So Land Bank has shed in terms of its lending into the sector. It's come off from its estimated around about 46 billion peak, round to about 20 to 26 billion currently. So that's been taken up largely by the commercial bank.
Next, we talk to Isak Starts from Beer.
Isak, you just participated in NAMPO Cape's Nation Conversation, the 4th session. Session was about the sheep industry, obviously the challenges that's there in the sheep industry, but I would like you to elaborate from a wool perspective, what opportunities are there in the market?
I think the first thing that you have to say that we are currently in a very, very difficult time. So our commodity prices are low. But the positive outcome of that is that it focuses us now. We need to make what we're doing in the farms work. And the tools available to us to improve sheep farming, to make more money, there's so many tools available these days. And the things that excite me at the moment is that we, for example, are collecting data on individual income per ewe of sheep. We currently have a database of 80,000 sheep where we have individual income data available. That data we can feed into mathematical models to predict the future breeding of these models, to analyze the efficiency of a farm per hectare, per sheep, per breeding unit. So there are so many tools coming available. Genomic testing is becoming really, really cheap. And the way that we're collecting data now and we're feeding it into these genomic models is just incredibly exciting what we'll be able to do in the very, very short term for our sheep farmers.
We also have Jordan Hill-Lewis, who's the Mayor of the City of Cape Town, and he is also going to shed some light on the solutions that his government is doing in the Western Cape.
Mayor Jordan Hill-Lewis, you just participated in a discussion regarding energy generation. We know we have a big problem with it's basically an energy crisis, and your city, which you are Mayor of City of Cape Town, is actually trying to reduce the impact of load shedding. You're actively and proactively tackling the problem heads on. You mentioned that you have a 2-year plan to reduce load shedding. Can you maybe elaborate a little bit more on especially your plans for the City of Cape Town?
Sure, so 2 broad things have to be done. This is an energy supply crisis. We do not have enough electricity in South Africa for the demand. So there's no solution without adding more electricity. You've got to generate new electricity and get it onto the grid. So we have to go out and buy new electricity from independent power producers, so-called IPPs, and they set up their own power plants, whether it be a solar plant or a wind plant or a gas plant, whatever it is, and they supply electricity to the city. And so we've gone and bought 700 megawatts of power to start with. That's, once it is all online, gets us to be able to protect our city from 4 stages of load shedding every day. And that's where we want to get to first. Secondly, we're getting power from individuals. We've got, it might be tiny amounts, but actually every person in South Africa can be a power station in your house or your business, your farm, whatever. And so we are offering people cash for the power that they sell to us. In most places in South Africa, you get a credit, your bill runs backwards basically, but you cannot go into negative where actually the municipality or Eskom, wherever, owes you money. But in Cape Town, we actually allow you to go into, to run up a proper credit, and we will pay you for that.
Up next, we take you through the Department of Agriculture in the Western Cape, aquaponics and hydroponics.